You had a rough day. Boss was on your case. Bills hit at the same time. Traffic was a nightmare. You got home, opened your phone, and before you even realized what happened, you bought 3 things on Amazon you did not need. Sound familiar? Here's what nobody tells you. That was not weakness. That was not stupidity. That was a 4,589 per year trap that the retail industry spent billions of dollars building, specifically for your worst moments. And today, we are exposing exactly how it works. Here is the neuroscience that retailers do not want you to understand. When you are stressed, your body releases a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol makes you feel tense, anxious, and out of control. Now here is the critical part. The moment you pick up a product to buy, your brain releases dopamine. Instant relief, instant pleasure. Your brain has essentially learned that shopping is a fast, reliable way to kill cortisol and replace it with dopamine. This is not a character flaw. This is basic brain chemistry, and billion-dollar companies have been exploiting this exact reaction for decades. Researchers at the Journal of Consumer Psychology discovered something that changes everything about how you think about stress spending. When people feel stressed, what they actually feel is a loss of control. You cannot control your boss. You cannot control the economy. You cannot control inflation. But you can choose to buy this exact coffee maker right now. Shopping gives your brain the feeling of making decisions and having power, even when everything else feels out of control. Psychologists call this compensatory control. It is not irrational. It is your brain desperately trying to feel like it is in charge of something. Now here is where it gets genuinely sinister. Retailers do not just benefit from stress spending, they engineer it. Amazon's algorithm tracks when you return to the app after periods of inactivity, which often happen right after stressful events, and serves you items calibrated to your emotional state. Target places high-margin impulse items, specifically at checkout, because decision fatigue from a long shopping trip makes your brain most vulnerable to unplanned purchases. Even the music tempo in physical stores is scientifically set. Research shows slower music increases spending by up to 38%. Your stress is not just being noticed by retailers, it is being monetized. In 2025, researchers identified a brand new phenomenon called doom spending. 17% of Americans now admit to making purchases specifically to cope with feelings of dread and hopelessness about the future. Not boredom, not a bad day, actual existential anxiety, economic uncertainty, fear of the future. When people feel powerless about large, uncontrollable problems, the brain searches for any microaction that creates a sense of agency. And buying something online at midnight is the easiest microaction available. Your global anxiety is being converted directly into retail revenue. Let us talk about the actual financial damage. The average American spends 4,589 per year on retail therapy. For millennials, that number climbs to 8,259. Now, let us run the compound math. 4,589 per year invested in an index fund at 10% annual return. Over 20 years, it becomes $294,000. Over 30 years, it becomes $822,000. You are not just losing $4,589 this year. You are losing the compound growth of that money for every remaining year of your life. And here is the trap inside the trap. Financial stress is one of the top triggers for retail therapy. So the more financially stressed you are, the more you spend, which makes you more financially stressed. Perfect circle, perfect trap. So how do you actually stop this? Strategy 1, the 3-question pause. Before any unplanned purchase, ask yourself 3 questions out loud. What emotion am I feeling right now? Is this purchase solving a practical problem or an emotional one? Will I still want this in 48 hours? This pause sounds too simple to work, but behavioral research shows it reduces unplanned purchases by over 30%. Why? Because the act of answering those questions forces your prefrontal cortex and the rational part of your brain back into the decision. You are not suppressing the urge. You are giving your logical brain enough time to show up to the conversation. Strategy 2, dopamine replacement. The reason retail therapy is so hard to stop is because it genuinely works in the short term. It really does reduce cortisol and increase dopamine. The solution is not willpower. The solution is replacement. Research confirms that exercise, completing a small task, calling someone you like, cooking or even organizing, one drawer, all activate the same dopamine reward pathway as shopping. Your brain does not care where the dopamine comes from. It just needs the hit. Give it one that does not cost you $822,000 over 30 years. Strategy 3, and this is the one that actually works long-term, the stress budget. Completely eliminating emotional spending is nearly impossible, and trying to do so creates more stress, which triggers more spending. Instead, deliberately allocate $50 to $100 per month as your intentional treat budget. This amount satisfies your brain's need for comfort and control while containing the financial damage. The rest of your spending remains planned and purposeful. You are not becoming a robot. You are giving the emotional human side of your brain a specific lane, so it does not take over the entire road. Millennials are the hardest hit generation, spending an average of $8,059 per year on retail therapy. That is $247,000 over 30 years in spending, alone before compound losses. If you are between 25 and 44, this trap was engineered specifically for you. Your generation is the most targeted by retail algorithms, social media advertising, and the endless scroll of products designed to catch you at your most vulnerable. Amazon is the #1 retail therapy destination, used by 55% of Americans for emotional purchases. Walmart comes second at 54%. These are not coincidences. Both platforms have invested billions in reducing what researchers call friction, every obstacle between your emotional impulse and your completed purchase. One-click buying, saved payment information, same-day delivery. Each of these features is specifically designed to make sure that the 20-second window your rational brain needs to intervene never has a chance to open. Here is your complete toolkit. When stress hits, run the 3-question pause before any unplanned purchase. Replace shopping dopamine with free dopamine through exercise, tasks, or connection. And set a deliberate monthly stress budget of $50 to $100, so your emotional brain has a lane without taking over the highway. These 3 tools, applied consistently, it can save you $4,589 per year and build $822,000 in wealth over 30 years. From one psychological shift. You are not weak for retail therapy. You are human, responding to stress with the exact tool that billion-dollar companies engineered for your worst moments. The average American loses $822,000 in compound wealth over 30 years to emotional spending. 3-question pause. Dopamine replacement. Stress budget. That is your toolkit. Use it. Subscribe to The Money Mind for more psychology of money every week. Next video, we are exposing the biggest lie your bank tells you every single month.